Welcome
Hello.
back to College Conversations. I'm Dr. Fedor, and I help you navigate college. Today, I'm here with Bert from Genius Potential. I met Bert at a workshop that Genius Potential did on invisible baggage and what some college students bring to college with them as first time in college students. Welcome to College Conversations, Bert.
All right, happy to have you. Thank you so much for having us. It was wonderful meeting you. I've checked out the channel, some great tips, so happy to be here.
So, thank you so much. So, tell me, what was your inspiration for starting Genius Potential and what do you guys do?
That's a great question. So it's a duo. Believe it or not, my business partner, we went to high school together,
Great.
and we were buddies. We used to hang out in the morning, grab breakfast, and really the inspiration came down to one, wanting to see certain changes in education, innovations that we wanted to see in the classroom, right? So when we reconnected after college, my business partner Det was actually working as an engineer for a defense company, but moonlighting at night, touring the country doing hip hop shows. I was a motivational speaker at the time. That's what I was moonlighting as, but I was working at Boys and Girls Club. I was a teacher, a science teacher, and we kept asking each other, how do we combine this music, this culturally relevant education with the workshop, with the motivation, with the inspiration for students so class doesn't feel like a classroom?
Yes. So, no, you touched on a lot of current topics. How can we re-engineer education for students? How can we stay culturally relevant? And really, all of us are passionate about helping students learn better in college and so forth. So, how exactly do you help institutions?
So one of the way that we help institution is first understanding what the challenges and what the needs are, right? So one of the biggest things that we see is a lot of the institutions we work with, they serve first gen students, first gen underserved low income students. And the biggest thing we find is when you don't come from a college going culture, for
Right.
example, my business partner, he's a first generation immigrant, first to get his master's. There's certain norms and expectations and certain blueprints that you don't have, right? You are not aware that, hey, if you can't find $300 to pay for textbooks, that doesn't mean I have to leave college. There's a office, financial office dedicated to helping resolve those kind of things. There's work study, there's all these other resources. But if you're a first generation student, one, you're being counted on to resource yourself
Right.
in this overwhelming maze. You don't have a blueprint, and I think that there's sometimes a lack of empathy for this group. It's their first time really navigating something like that. So we really meet institutions where they're at, and we create programs that make it simple for first gen and all students to thrive, but we also make it engaging and meet them where they're at. So whether it's something like, putting the resources in a hip hop chant or making it a skit or something that people can follow along, giving chunked bite-sized little videos after the program so people can say, oh, I can click on this and this is what I do for this resource. It just makes it easier and more digestible for institutions and students for them to succeed and thrive. That's on the college level, and we do some similar work with different grant-funded programs at the high school and middle school level.
I found your workshop to be especially inspiring because of the way that you and your partner Det acted out real life scenarios and scenes in a skit in a funny way, but also relatable way. Because for myself, on the professor side, I've been in those situations where the student has been in my office and asked those questions, and just how how you react to answering questions and so forth can really make a big difference on the student side of it. And just, everything that you put together in your workshop, I found very, very inspiring. What is your next step with Genius Potential?
First of all, thank you for saying that. I think when we spoke to you after, you liked the different modalities we used, everything from big group, small group, to skits, to we modeled the behavior, and then we had you guys model, some of the language and how to approach certain students. And we also made sure that the group was learning from each other. And a lot of that is, adult, learning theory, adult learning principles. But what we realize is today's learners, and there's new research coming out of NYU called Universal Learning Design. And what they did, which was really fascinating, was they had a bunch of students in a class and they mapped what parts of their brain were being activated as they were learning. And what they saw in the class is you really had a variety of different students with different parts of their brains being activated. So when you're designing a program, you can't think about one learner. You can't
Right.
think about the visual learner. You can't just think about the one who's tactile and needs to move around or touch things with their hands, or auditory. You have to incorporate as many learning styles as possible, just because even that study I think shows us, wow, you could be in a classroom with 20 people and you have four different groups of five people learning in a completely different way. So how many students are we leaving by the wayside? So I think that's really the big thing about what we try to do in our design. Your question was, what's next for Genius Potential?
Yes.
A couple different things. I think we always like to think about big ideas, right? So one of the biggest things that we think about is how do we incorporate more STEM programming, and just making that accessible and culturally relevant. Because if you look at STEM professionals, there's a lot of different groups that are underrepresented in STEM. So we're trying to make STEM more accessible and just more relatable to students in their environment. The other thing that we're thinking about is, in this world of AI, in this world of how people learn, we definitely want to create more digital curriculum, and we also want to create more programming that is relevant to the world of AI and machine learning and where we're going next.
Oh, it sounds like you have a lot on your plate. It's an exciting time to be in education because there is more research being done on, like you said, learning styles. And I think the first step is recognizing that not every student learns in the same way. We have to be very cognizant about designing our curriculum to reflect that, the diversity of our students and everything that you said. Well, I'm so excited for you, Bert and Det and Genius Potential, and you guys have a lot of energy. You do a lot of great things, and thank you so much for being on College Conversations today.
Yes, and one thing I would say, if I could leave one tip for your
Sure.
audience, going back to the different learning styles, also think about neurodiverse students, right? So, some students, they need to be to manage their anxiety. If you notice in our program, there's things people can hold. Sometimes we have pop-its in the audience, right? Just making sure that you are appealing to every type of learner from the minute they walk in the door, from your props to the pictures on the wall to, the music you're playing, to every intentional part of that program has to be designed to reach all learners and help them find their inner genius. And I think that's really what our mission is helping every student find their genius, because everyone has genius potential level if they're properly engaged.
I love it. Everybody has genius potential. So what was the mantra? Different perspectives.
Still respected.
You'll
That's a good one.
respect
I couldn't
it.
even remember that. I
Yeah,
appreciate
I
that.
remember it. No, that's great. So
That's awesome. That means it was a great staff training. So thank you.
it was a great staff training. Please remember to hit like and share. Share this video with other students and administrators who you think might also find it helpful. And remember to keep learning.